Oh, they've done it! Steven Gerrard, an instant hero! Can you believe it? Plenty attacking! No! The comeback is complete! A stunning second half from Schalke!
Blau und Weiß sein Leben lang. Herzlich willkommen zurück auf Schalke America Season 7. We are back. I didn't forget the opening. I'm your host, Richard Carman. Joining me as always for our Season 7 co-host, Jack Mangan. How we doing, Jack?
Yeah, pretty smooth intro. You would not know that we are in essentially preseason form at the moment. Yeah, I'm doing all right. You know, you reached out to me recently and asked, hey, when do you want to get this season preview done? And for the first couple seconds after I read that, I was thinking to myself, I don't know, whenever the season is. And then I looked at my phone and realized the season is in fact this Friday. So
this Friday.
Yeah, those Bundesliga 2 summer breaks, man, they're something else. They're something wicked. But yeah, here we are.
And how was your summer, my friend?
Busy on the work front. But have enjoyed my time away from Schalke, and I've been thrust back into it, back into another Bundesliga 2 campaign. But yeah, how's your summer been?
My summer's been excellent. Life's good, can't complain. And then, of course, our no good excuse of an owner here in Washington, Mr. Dan Snyder, is gone. This says bye, Dan. So new owner, so new life here in DC. So yeah, I'm good. I can't complain. And this year's going to be interesting with Liga and ESPN Plus to see how much coverage we get and if we can find coverage otherwise. So it'll be interesting to see.
Exactly. Quality beverages from both of us.
Yes. You got the Veltons. Mr. Binging says, hello from Schalke. Glück auf. And now Wafflo is back in the house. It says, Glück auf. Great to have you guys back. Thank you. Glad to be back. Shout out to the Discord. Been pumping it all summer. Jack and I have been on hiatus from Schalke, but the Discord's been pumping and, constant news going on with Schalke, which we're going to get into tonight. Hard to keep.
Yeah, I'm really not active in the Discord at all. I need to change that, so I apologize to everybody else. But it seems like the community in the Discord is just taking off without us anyway. So great for that. Yeah, love that. But yeah, there's some good content and some good ideas being thrown around in there.
Yeah, we'll talk about some of those ideas in there in a minute. But we had a lot of movement on this team, so we're gonna talk about some of the departing players, and some of the players that came in its place, and then kind of look what that means for this season. What are the possible lineups could be? Early on, it's gonna be hard to tell with so many new players, so many new faces. And then we got Hamburg coming up here on Friday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, 1:30 Jack time in Chicagoland. We will be doing a live watch along on Friday, so join us for the party for the opening weekend in Liga. But yeah, a lot to get into, Jack. We lost a lot of players. We made some cash this summer, but we lost some depth, I think. And yeah, let's get into it. I mean, Eric's in the house. Glück auf. Good to see you. Amin Harit, finally off our books, 5 million euros to Marseille. About time, right?
Now, if only we could get rid of Bentaleb. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, let me check. No, not yet. Yeah, no. We did lose Rodrigo Zalazar, but we did get 5 million euros from Braga. So it's a decent amount of money from him. Marius Bulter, unfortunately, he has gone. We always knew that he was going to stay in the Bundesliga. He joined Hoffenheim for 3 million euros. So sad to see him go. Surprising, Jordan Larson, we lost him to Copenhagen, who we played in a friendly recently, and for 2 million euros. So it's decent.
Yeah, I was seeing that Schalke was saying that some of these transfer fees were going to be undisclosed, but then you have like Transfermarkt or other websites that are like reporting what they believe the deal. So I don't know like how accurate some of those numbers are, but yeah, it looks like 2 million maybe for Jordan Larson.
Marvin Pieringer, a guy I thought who maybe compete with Terodde and Polter for that starting spot, is gone to Heidenheim for 1.8. Heidenheim now in the Bundesliga, no longer in the Zweite Liga. Thoughts on Pieringer's departure?
It's one of those weird ones where you have a younger player who you think is promising and needs more playing time, and you feel like you could give him that playing time if you wanted to, and for some reason we don't, and we decide to loan him out or whatever. They go off and get that playing time elsewhere, and then when it's time for him to come back, we're in a different position, and we just kind of bypass each other when we miss each. I don't know. It just feels like we've had this asset on our books for the last couple of years, and we haven't used him now. Or start to say last year in particular. So, whatever. I'm not trying to say that Marvin Pieringer is this phenomenal player or anything, but It felt like he could have been useful at times last season, and certainly would have been useful this season, you would imagine, back in the second division, and now we don't have him anymore. So yeah, disappointing.
It is disappointing. I agree with that because I was hoping he'd maybe like pair with one of the big men up top and maybe obviously learn from them because Poulter scored many goals in his career and obviously Terodde is a Zweite Liga leading goal scorer all time. So anyway, he's gone. Can Bazdogan also gone to Utrecht for 1 million euros. Dries Wouters, he's gone from us for 600,000 for Lommel SK in the Belgian league. Nassim Boujellab. Auf Wiedersehen. He has gone to Arminia Bielefeld in the Dritte Liga, free transfer there, so he's gone. About time, right? He's one of those, I guess, curious cases like Bentaleb, where obviously Bentaleb had a lot more sky and potential, but one of the guys who's been in and out, a lot of issues with the team, and we weren't sure we got him back last year, but he was in the team. I mean,
it's possible that I just don't even remember some of the comments that I may have made on this podcast over the years. As you mentioned, we are in season 7 now, which is kind of crazy to think about that we've been doing this for this long. But Boujellab was one of those guys that when he kind of started to break through, there was a lot of hype around him, and I never understood why.
Yeah.
Like, and believe me, and if there's anybody that falls for like the Knapp and Schmida or like, the young player hype when it comes to Schalke, it's certainly, I think you and I on this podcast, and in particular me, Mr. Kudici myself. But like I never really understood the Boujellab hype. I don't know. So yeah, to see that he is where he is at the moment, I'm not shocked by it, but I hope he's able to find some consistency somewhere and build something.
I think with him is because where we were at that time where we were struggling in the Bundesliga, we were grasping for anything. And here you go, you got a Knapp player who joins the top team, and you're hoping, hey, this breakthrough, if he gets a goal, let's ride him, and maybe he'll bring us out of this funk. It never happened. Both never happened, right? This is our second emotion in 3 years here. So he's gone. Karim Çalhanoğlu, a guy who we thought we'd love to see more playing time, he's gone to Greuther Fürth in the same league, Zweite Liga, for undisclosed amount. Reinhold Brandful, he's gone to Austria Vienna. Yoshida, he's gone. No club right now. Kolacek, he's gone.
Yeah, so how do you feel about the Yoshida thing? Let's talk about that for a minute, just because he was a contributor last year. Obviously, I think his contract was only valid for another year if we had stayed in the top division, so that's why he's without a club at the moment. Like his second-year option, whatever, wasn't valid in the second division. I am kind of okay with that. Are you like upset about that at all? Like, I mean, I do think we're thin at center back at the moment, and that's actually one of, I think, the targets that we need to focus on, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. So I guess it's kind of potentially, contradictory to then not be upset about. But I don't know. I don't feel like that would have been a great option for us anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I agree with this that he's gone. But I mean, when you look at what happened over the past weekend and where we are depth-wise in center back, you're like, maybe we could have used his experience back there, right? But I think Kaminsky is more serviceable in the Zweite Liga than is Yoshida, especially with his passing range, his free kick ability, apparently, we saw at the end of last season. So yeah, I'm okay with it. I mean, he did well for us. He won me over. I was one of the most harshest critic for him when he first joined the club. And he won me over. He did play. He was consistent for most part. He definitely had his weaknesses and his bad spells, but he did come up big in a lot of big games. So he's sad to see him go, but I think it was the right call seeing him go. One guy who's not mentioned on the transfer market is Sidi Sane. Sidi Sane is gone. I don't remember what club he's joining, but yeah, it looks like they're giving up on the younger Sane brother. What are your thoughts on him letting go of a young talent like him?
Look, I mean, I think a lot of the hype around him was partially tied to obviously who his relative is. Was kind of sniffing around for a bit, never really got any sort of run in the team or consistent look. So I don't really feel like we even had really a chance to significantly evaluate him from like a fan perspective.
Yeah.
Unless you had been watching like, youth side games, whatever, which I haven't. So, yeah, whatever. I mean, I don't know. I can't really suggest that's like a loss or anything along those lines.
Yeah. It's funny. Sambo's in the house too, says the goats are back. Up until this past weekend, I had a huge beard going on. So I got the long hair and now no beard. So it's summer. It's summertime. We're back.
We got the summer facial hair. I got a very short beard at the moment. You got, almost no beard at all.
And long hair. I got long hair. Moving on. Maurice Jens, sad to see him go. I think one of our best players last year. Obviously, he only played from January onward, but I think he was one of our standout players in that second half of the season. Thoughts on? I mean, obviously, not having him on the back is going to hurt us, but what a good player he was, and it was a great find to get him. But unfortunately, we're unable to keep him with the funds and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, Jens, one of the only reasons the end of the season was remotely interesting. I mean, if it hadn't been for him and the contribution he made to turning the team around, in addition to Rice at the time, but some of those signings early in the second half of the season, I think we would have been relegated much earlier than we were ultimately.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jens, really classy player. Appreciated his contribution last season. Disappointing to lose him. I think some of our biggest losses in recent seasons have been at that position. Whether it's Mao Chow, Itakura, and now Jens, even though these are lone players, right? But like Jens Vandenberg, who didn't actually play that much for us because he got injured almost immediately after joining us on loan, but looked decent when he was playing for. I mean, so like those are two guys. I mean, I would have loved to been able to retain Vandenberg in the second division. Not surprised that we can't. I think he's at Mainz now, potentially on loan from Liverpool. So he went to a different Bundesliga team. But yeah, that's part of what's unfortunate about the squad overhaul that takes place when you drop a division is significant. And it would have been nice to try to secure one of these guys permanently, or extend them on loan for another year, something along those lines.
Yeah, no, 100%. Ryan says Sidi Sane went to Braunschweig, and he's already out injured 10 weeks, so we're gonna miss him in the first time we play them this season. Alex Kral gone to it says he went to Union Berlin. Tom Kraus, did he join Leipzig? Where'd Kraus go?
I thought I didn't know if he joined somewhere else yet. I thought he's just back at Leipzig, but yeah, I mean, I'll check that. But yeah, Kral and Kraus both. I think those are two of the biggest, as well, because that's like a starting midfield pairing for a lot of the season.
Most of the season, yeah.
Huge.
Vandenberg gone, as you mentioned. Eder Balanto, who we didn't really miss. Michel Frey, sad to see him go. Tim Skarka had some big goals. Ornen and Schwoloff round out the departures.
Bon voyage, Schwoloff. Happy trails, my friend.
He went to Hertha, maybe, I think so. Yeah, wherever he is, good luck to him. But we lost majority of our team last season.
Yeah, I think he's back in Berlin. I think the loan move or whatever is over, so he's just kind of floating around that squad still somehow.
Oh, Kraus is at Mainz. That's right. I did hear that. Kraus at Mainz. I forgot about that. But yeah, much like Rowan Schroeder did 2 years ago, the guys at Schalke had to figure something out. The team at Schalke had to figure something out and kind of get a whole new players in there. Obviously, we got the boosting of the good news that Poulter and Toronto will be back this season coming up, which is huge. But we still had a lot of gaps to fill, and so some of the names started coming in. Schallenberg from Paderborn for €2 million. I like this signing. I don't know crazy amount about it, but I have watched a little bit about him. He is a good defensive midfielder. He's been okay so far that I've seen in games so far this preseason, but it's a midfield depth that we need. We don't have much. I'd rather have a guy like Schallenberg back there than Danny Latza, in my opinion.
Consistent contributor to Paderborn over the last few seasons. I need to watch more of him as well, but decent tackler, relatively ball secure, that kind of thing. So the midfield is the area where we have the depth at the moment with all these signings that you're about to talk about. So
adding to that midfield depth, Paul Sagan from Union Berlin, 28-year-old for just under $1 million. Again, another depth player. I don't know how much start time he'll get. He might, but it's good to have a more depth player. And another player alongside him, Lino Teppelman from Freiburg, also around a similar amount of 700,000 euros. There you go, 3 midfielders there. That
he's been at Nuremberg though, hasn't he? For the last 2 seasons, so I think he's been owned by Freiburg. He's been Teppelman's a decent signing. Continue.
No, I think those three additions there in midfield are going to help us out a lot with the guys that we have. Obviously, we have a handful of returners that are coming back. Obviously, Danny Latza is one of the names that comes to the forefront, and Drexler. But those 3 guys should definitely help with the midfield. There's another guy in midfield. I've seen him in midfield so far this preseason, but he's more of a Marius Bulter type in terms of what position he plays on the pitch, and that's Brian Lasme from Arminia Bielefeld from the Dritte Liga. We got them after they got relegated. We lose Marius Bulter, a guy who had basically all our goals last season. It seemed like he's obviously gone, and Lasme has played all 3 positions up front. Can play midfield. He has this preseason, but in my eyes, I see him as a replacement, almost a direct replacement from Bulter, but. Good to have a big man up top because we already seen him and Kozuki linking up on our set pieces, and he's good in the air. So I mean, at least there's that. I mean, any Do you even know?
Yeah, I think like 10 direct goal contributions last season. Not bad to add that, out on the left wing, especially when, the player that you're losing in that left wing area is somebody like Marius Bolter, who's one of our highest goal scorers, or somebody that can, contribute on the offensive end, assisting as well. So yeah, decent signing. Certainly has some size and some presence to him. I actually kind of like that in wingers sometimes. Sometimes you get these like these tricky small players, which like, they can beat people on the dribble, but sometimes they come up against these like center backs or defenders. You feel they kind of get cul-de-saced a little bit. And he's the kind of guy that's like, he's gonna go where he wants to on the pitch, like when he wants to. And that'll be nice. And I think he'll probably be able to draw some attention and some people out of position, and hopefully open some things up for either Tobias Mohr or Oweyan on some overlaps and getting into that area to be able to, that's some space to whip in those crosses that we're going to need for them. I think as part of a big contribution to our offense this season.
I'm glad you mentioned Tobias Mohr, because I think that is a direct competition for Lasme and maybe Kozuki as well for that left wing spot. We've seen a lot of Tobias Mohr this summer so far.
That's a good question. So do you see Mohr as a slightly more advanced player, or do you feel like he's going to be in a rotation with Oweyan at the left back position, or both, or kind of hopping back and forth as needed?
I hope to God he plays in the attacking aspect, because defensively, even this summer, you watch him defensively, he just wasn't playing at all. I mean, he just lets guys go right by. I mean, that's how he kind of did all last season. And he's even mentioned he's not a left back and he doesn't understand why he is put in this position. And I agree. I don't think he needs to be there. Yes, we need depth. And Oweyan, you can't count on him to be healthy the entire year. And so we still have the GOAT back there, Matriciani, who can play in every position, probably goalkeeper too, with his size. So I would rather have Mohr up top and battling with Lasme for that winger spot, up in the front three, and then have Oweyan and maybe Matriciani, maybe somebody else come in as a backup. China Mehmet Aydin, he's a guy who could probably play both sides, right? He's more of a right winger player, but I think he belongs up front. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think he does too, just because he's so poor defensively, and I guess it's possible you can look at him as sort of like a luxury left back player and say, hey, what he does when he does get into the final third in terms of his delivery it outweighs the defensive liabilities, and it's worth having. And I guess there's an argument to be made that you could even view Oweyan in that sense to some extent too.
Yeah, in
the sense that his contributions are weighted more heavily towards possession than out of possession. Not quite in the same way, but I think you can make that argument. So from that perspective, it's kind of like, all right, whatever. But like, generally speaking, I don't think it's gone well. I think he's been pretty poor there. And obviously I think it limits, when you play him that deep, it limits what he's good at, which is, getting forward and playing some of those balls. So yeah, I definitely see him as a slightly more advanced player. It'll be interesting to see if he's actually able to get any sort of purchase in terms of consistent starting 11 opportunities over a guy like, Lasme or whatever.
Yeah. I think we're gonna have a bounce back year for Oweyan this year. He just seems more comfortable in the Zweite Liga so far.
I hope so, dude. I hope so.
And Toronto, you would imagine he would be back comfortable. He's already scoring in the summer so far. So goalkeeper, we have a new goalkeeper in our midst, Marius Müller from Luzern, who's been there for the last 2-3 years, maybe more. He, I think, is going to be starting over Fairman. Just because he's been a lot more of the pitch time so far this summer, and obviously Fairman's getting up there in age. Müller is probably, I don't know, at least 6 years younger than he is. So I mean, so he's looked decent so far in the summer. I mean, do you think he's going to be the one who gets the starting position over Fairman? You think it's like a 50-50 type thing, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a chance that it's still up in the air, because I think Fairman may have been going to start like the previous game if he was not injured or something, like a minor knock or something along those lines.
Rotation.
So yeah, it could be still up in the air a little bit, but or it could be that he's going to come in and take over. I don't know too much about him. All I've really seen from him so far is part of that Twente match. I thought he grew into that game a little bit in terms of his confidence on the ball when he's in possession back by his goal and then passing around. I thought he got a little bit more comfortable and confident as the game went on, but I mean, not like a firm opinion on him yet or anything.
Two guys.
What I will say is, I would be shocked if either of us are as concerned about the goalkeeper position this season as we have been perhaps the last few seasons.
At least not yet.
Knock on wood. Yeah.
At least not yet. That's for sure. Two guys I'm excited to talk about because they're one of our own. Kiki Top, is going to be joining us officially as a senior member. I think he did towards the end of last year. 16 goals, 3 assists last year with the Knappschmiede. And then a guy everyone's talking about, Topp Ouedraogo, coming from the U16s, and he had like 7 goals, 8 assists, or 8 goals, 7 assists last season from midfield position. People are thinking he's the direct replacement for Salazar. Kid's got some moves. Kid's got confidence. He's got good ball control.
So once again, pretty much all I've seen of him so far is likewise the Teshbeel against Twente. What I will say when he came in that I liked about him is he's a player that does not seem to be interested in cycling the ball just to cycle the ball.
Yeah.
In terms of like, here's an available player that's 5 yards for me, I'm just going to pass it to him just to move the thing around. He seems to immediately look for a progressive pass, or will take a step back and whip it out wide to somebody who's like open in a channel and is able to go for some progressive movement. So he seems to have some intent about him and some like inertia to his play that seems to kind of pull some of the other team forward. I like players that kind of approach the game that way. So I thought he was bright. Yeah, certainly on the ball at least at times. And it still looks like a player, obviously, with as young as he is, who's still kind of like growing into his body and everything. But even at that point, pretty good balance, was riding some challenges in terms of some strength and everything. So yeah, it could be quite a nifty player.
Just going to read out the rest of the players just for those who need a refresher who's on our team. Simon Terodde, Yoshida Kozuki is back, and he looks like he's pretty good so far. Obviously, Fairman, Keenan Karaman is back with us. Henny Matriciani, Sebastian Polter, as mentioned, Danny Latza, Dominic Drexler, Leo Greiml. We'll get to him in a second. Marcin Kaminski, Mehmet Aydin, who I mentioned. It says Florian Flick here, but I'm pretty sure he went on loan. Again, Cedric Brunner is back with us. Misha Langer, Thomas Owayan, who we've been talking about. Ibrahim Assise, I do want to talk to him in a little bit. You mentioned Tobias Mohr, Nicholas Toyer, another goalkeeper, Justin Hickerin, Andreas Ivan, midfield, Blendi Edrizi back in our lives. And lastly, but not least, Joey Paul Mueller. Of those names, anyone you want to chat about real quick? I mean, obviously there's an injury we're going to talk about here, but
yeah. Well, first of all, I think actually Flick, I think he's just hurt. I don't think we got rid of Flick.
Okay.
I think he broke his like metatarsal or something like that. Some sort, yeah.
Jeez.
Toyer, you mentioned at the end there. We signed him on, I think, on a long-term loan from Mainz. Didn't really feature for us at all down the stretch in the midst of that relegation fight. May now a little bit defensive midfielder, somebody else you can rotate in alongside like Schallenberg or whoever. So somebody to keep an eye on. I don't know. Anybody you want to talk about first?
Well, I mean, let's talk about the big injury news that came up, and it's more because now this guy's getting compared to Koke, who had terrible injury, problems, in his career. And I'm talking, of course, Leo Greiml, a guy who, didn't get much playing time last year. We had a lot of high hopes for him. Coming to this season, there's a good chance that he would have a fight for a starting position. And then in the game against Twente, he and Kaminski kind of like collided with each other, or just narrowly missed each other, tweaked his knee and ended up tearing his ACL again. And he's out for the season. I mean, just horrible luck for the young man. He's out, and we all wanted to see what he was going to be made, what he's going to contribute this year, how he's going to get better. And this happens, just bad luck for this guy. And
yeah, just successive. Like I think it's like the third consecutive knee injury he's had. So I don't know, man. Yeah, you feel for the kid, especially when they start to break through the senior level, and then right as that's happening. I mean, it's one thing if it's like you were good as a youth player and you didn't even make it to that level, but it's like the guy's potentially about to be starting for Schalke or something. He just can't stay healthy. So yeah, we wish him the best. It's unfortunate for the team because, as we already mentioned earlier in the podcast, losing several center backs, 3 of them at a minimum, I think, in the offseason. So already kind of thin now with Greiml. I think we still need to approach that in the transfer market before the window's over.
Yeah. Larsade says, I feel so bad for Greiml. He can't catch a break. No, it is sad, and hopefully he does find a way to mend up and build some leg strength and get over this. But not good when you become injury prone early on, and it kind of just stays you for many people throughout their career. So hopefully he can overcome it. But that puts us in a big hole also defensively, because we just signed someone today. Baumgartel, I think we signed this year.
So that's what I was about to say. I've been hearing those rumors. I don't know if that actually happened yet or not. But yeah, Timo Baumgartel. If that would be a big signing, I'd be happy with that in terms of helping to fill that gap a little bit.
That would put us at 3 center backs, so to speak. If you don't include Henny Matriciani obviously can play back there. I'm curious on your thoughts on the lineup potential, because it's it's crazy what we got here. This comes from the chat, the Discord, Will Viles, and he says his potential starting 11. Let's read it to you so we get a kind of framework of where we think. So he's thinking a goal. He thinks Muller over Fairman. A back four of Brunner on the right, Matriciani, Kaminsky in the middle, Oyan on the left. A midfield 5 of Schallenberg's the deep playmaker with Seguin, Latza, Drexler on the right, Lasme on the left, and Tarota up top. Not exactly how the lineup I would use, but it's
I'd have to like look at it again, like present it out or something. The goalkeeper I don't really have much of an opinion on yet. Like I said, I have to see more of him before I feel I have a strong opinion over him or Fairman. Either one of them, like I said, I'm not particularly worried about this season. I think I'm probably fine with Brunner starting at right back. I thought he was, he got exposed at times, and he's not the most exciting player in the way that like a Tobias Mohr and Oweyan is exciting on the opposite side going forward. But a guy who's going to grind it out, a guy who's a little bit more secure defensively. I'm fine on that front. Center backs. I forgot what he said for center backs already, but Cisse is an interesting player for sure. I like what I see. He had actually a very nice marauding run at one point.
He did, looking like Naldo,
which was very they're like a Matip or something like that back in the day. So that was fun to see. I think there's a lot of conversation at the moment around like, it's really just like Schalke's midfield just needs to gel. And then, but like, everything else is fine because there's a lot of like returning faces. And like, so here's the thing. I guess what I would say in terms of the lineup in general is like, okay, Terrada's only 2 seasons removed, or like one full season really removed from, setting a record in the second division.
Yeah.
Are we getting that same Terrada back at this point in his career? He's not that far away. Like, do I expect him to be better than last season? Yeah, I expect him to probably double up his Bundesliga total and probably score at least 10 goals in the second division this season. I think he will find a way to do that. Is he scoring 30? Perhaps not. Is Poulter picking up the difference? And
maybe.
I don't know. I'm not super high on that. I think hopefully Lasme has some goal contributions and everything. But then you look at like, the winger side of things. You have Franky Kramer who had some better performances down the stretch second half of the season, but like he's gonna need to be that player very consistently. To be solid and worthy of starting a lot in the second division. I feel like maybe now that we have Kozuki back and healthy, maybe he capitalized on that promise and is just such a spark plug that we can't keep him out of the lineup and he contributes. But like, I think there's a lot of question marks about our winger positions if we're still kind of playing with more like traditional, 4-3-3 or like a 4-2-3-1. I'm not necessarily sold on that. And we have a lot of bodies in the midfield, and I think overall we'll find the solutions to be okay in that position. But I do think there's going to be some trial and error of various combinations and some chemistry that has to build. And we're thin defensively, so I think we need some additional center back help. Like I said, if Baumgartner ultimately gets signed, that'll be a step in the right direction there. But I'm not. I don't know. I'm not like super excited about our squad. How do you feel overall in terms of your confidence level of the team we have going into this campaign?
It's interesting. I think my take is similar to what everybody else's take, especially from watching them this preseason. I think in the attack, we're okay. We can score goals, I think, this year. And the midfield, with some of the additions we've had, I think we're fairly solid. How solid compared to last year, we'll see. I think Kral and Kraus were fantastic for us last year. And so it's going to be big shoes to fill for anybody, in particular Schallenberg. But defense is our weakest point. Goalkeeper is no opinion on it just yet. We thought Schwoloff was going to be a great signing until he started playing. So we don't know yet. I think Marius Muller's looked okay so far, and obviously Fairman, I have no worries about him. But it's that back four, in particular the back two. We saw against Twente as a recent example is like the first 15 minutes of the game, we looked terrible. Yes, Greiml got injured 7 minutes in, but we looked terrible. We looked pretty much all throughout the game like balls over the top. It's a direct play, as we've been talking for the last 2-3 years, has been killing us. But I think I noticed a substantial improvement once Ibrahim Cisse joined the fray with Kaminsky. I think Kaminsky, he maybe not getting as much love as others in their starting 11, but I think Kaminsky should be a starting center back on this team. He played decently 2 years ago for us in the center back position, but his passing ability is what really kind of separated him from everybody else. and we need that at times when we get the pressure and got to unlock that, the press. So I want to see Kaminsky back there, and then.
And it's not even when he's like trying to unlock the press when he's sitting deep. There's times where we get possession for like a little bit of a sustained period around the final third, and he kind of comes up to like the corner of the box, and he'll be connecting on like 1-2s and stuff and playing some nice passes. So he's definitely important in that role. I agree.
I wouldn't mind seeing Cisse to begin, just because he's a big body. Seems to read the game fairly well. I don't want to put Matriciani in position that is not his natural position, which is right back, or even left back. And I know Matriciani is a fan favorite, but I always want to see Cisse, give him a chance to see what he can do. He's got a good pace too. We saw that in the Twente game where someone beat him behind. He caught up and blocked the shot before it even got to the keeper. So I thought they looked better as a pairing than I've seen, fairly all summer. Thomas Oyan has to be left back, and I think Brunner, I agree with you, should be a right back. We'll see what the midfield how it shapes up. I'm with you though, because I think the weird thing is, going to the season, I would peg Kozuki and maybe Lasme on the wings with Toyota up top. And if you have Drexler or someone else in there in the middle, depending on position you play. But what we've seen a lot this summer so far is Tobias Mohr on the left, Keenan Karaman on the right. And say what you will, what it looks like on paper is like these two guys aren't really that great. They kind of linked up fairly well. Tobias Mohr seems to be another viable threat on the set pieces and with the crosses. Obviously, Kozuki is going to be a threat on the set pieces this year, as we've seen so far. But Tobias Mohr is finding guys in the middle. He's linking up with the top two guys, Toyota, whoever the striker is, and Karaman. And Karaman's been in the right position this year. I think he's like 3 goals this summer so far. Granted, they're friendlies, but I mean, I'm almost willing to give these guys a shot.
He may be way more effective in the second division than he was last season. Yeah. I'm saying the vast majority of his especially the earlier parts of his contributions last season were not good. Yeah. And I guess all I'm saying is this. I think there's a sense of like, oh, well, we got relegated last time when it was much more shocking for us.
Yeah.
And there was much and we bounced right back up. So like we're much more kind of prepared to go down this time. We have like a lot of the same players we had last, like it'll be fine. And I guess the only thing I'm trying to say is like, the last time we got relegated, that second division team still had Malik Chow and Itakura.
Yeah.
As your starting center backs. That's a significant upgrade over any center back pairing that we can field at the moment.
Yeah.
You had Bolter and Salazar, and then especially the second half of the season, you had like Cherlinov. And I don't think we have
plus a 30-goal scorer on the front.
Yeah, and a 30-goal scoring Tirada, which you may or may not have. Like, he may score 20, 25 goals a season, and I'll be like, why was I worried? But I'm just saying, like, and he's the contract he signed is like partially as like a captain, like locker room guy, coach situation. Like, hey, if I end up not playing well, I'll take a step back from like my activity, like in the starting 11 and stuff, and kind of be like, it's kind of like a try and see kind of thing. So like, look, I said, he may be fine, and I think in the aggregate maybe we'll be fine. But I'm not as sold in terms of the actual like quality of the squad. I think the depth in some areas is there, but it remains to be seen. We'll certainly see. I mean, we have like Drexler still, but he's like 33 now. We have Danny Lotz. Like, these are guys that can contribute here and there, but some of our main contributors, if it's going to be, like Schallenberg or Seguin or whoever, I'm like, I don't know. I'm going to have to get a good look at him kind of early in the season before I really can.
Maybe Ouedraogo gets a good run early on, at least, to see what he can do. Like
I said, I was impressed by him for sure.
It'll be interesting to see what formation we do. I mean, I agree with Larsade is that, Schallenberg as the sole 6 might not be the ideal. We've played with the two holding midfielders in the middle for the last several years, for the most part. And I think that would be a good partnership to do, whether it's, it's Schallenberg and Latza or one of the new guys that come up there, Seguin or Keppelman. But I think Drexler in some fashion, maybe as the 10 in that formation, or maybe Lasme gets in there, right? Because he's played a little bit of midfield this season too. Maybe he plays in that 10 position as a big body, or gets on the wing and Tobias Mohr comes in the middle, or I don't know. There's a lot to experiment here. I think Kozuki is ultimately going to be the guy who you're going to have in the attack to be the main spark plug, with maybe Ouedraogo coming to the forefront. But we'll see. I mean, from everything I've seen so far, it seems like Karaman and Tobias Mohr are going to get this initial start. We'll see how they do against Hamburg. Hamburg's not the most easiest game to play. We played them 2 years ago at the opening game, and we lost 3-2 that game, I think. So Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, not surprised they're going back to like two big clubs in Schalke and Hamburg for the Friday, taster for the opening match day here.
Yeah. At least we have a better coach this time. That's 100% sure. Gramozis or Rice? Let's go Rice. Rice is way better, I think, at this point.
Or Christian Gross, Mammelbaum.
Yeah. Or what? Oh god, I'm not gonna.
Franky Kramer.
Kramer. Lots of Drexler would be the other double six options. Yeah. I think Drexler I see more in an advanced position, honestly, than a holding position. But yeah, soul patches. All right. So we'll see what the lineups are, but we are playing this Friday. What do you think of the season? I mean, like, I agree with you. I think we are in a better position this time around compared to last time in terms of personnel and just being better equipped for the Fight the Liga and the possibility of going back up. I feel more comfortable this year than 2 years ago. With that said, I mean, there's some good teams still, obviously, in the league, but I mean, it's gonna be difficult, right? You got to figure Hertha's gonna be in the mix, and there's still some other teams, Holstein Kiel, are gonna be in there, right? What are your thoughts of the season?
Well, my hope for the season is that we get automatically promoted.
Yes, no playoff, automatic,
and then the final promotion spot comes down to like the final automatic promotion spot comes down to like Hamburg and Hertha. Hamburg gets it, and then Hertha loses in the promotion playoff.
Okay,
that would be my goal because it'd just be funny. But no, what I'll say is what I was just saying a second ago is I feel like in some ways there may have been better quality to the previous second division squad that we had than there is now. I think I'm like emotionally better prepared for it because we've kind of been through it once and we were successful in getting promoted back. So it doesn't maybe feel like as much of like a nervy moment for us. Like, oh yeah, there's a lot of confidence, but I do feel like there were some exceptional players on that last second division team that we no longer have. The one positive is that we have a holdover of coach in terms of Rice and retaining him. So it's not, a complete I mean, I know we had Grammatis like the back end of the season, but like he wasn't implementing anything when we were getting slaughtered in the Bundesliga. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like now we have a guy that's actually coached us for half a season in actual like games that meant something where we were competitive or at least, trying to be, and he can carry that over. But I think anybody that thinks that Schalke is going to come into this season and get off to a hot start, it's possible. I think it's also very possible that we have a start that we did against like Heidenheim. And like was it like Rostock and some other teams maybe like
Regensburg their second game
4-1 whatever it was. We might have some of those against teams that are a little bit more together and organized when we have a lot of these new faces that still have to gel for a bit. So we'll see how it goes. I do expect us to ultimately be near the top of the table come the end. Do I think we're going to run away with the title? No, absolutely not. Nothing like that. So
yeah, I agree. It would be nice, but I don't think that'll happen either. Hamburg and Kaiserslautern to start the things off. Kaiserslautern finished 9th last year, but they've been on a progressive upturn. They've been like the slower version of Union Berlin, and they've gotten better every year since they've been way deep in the doldrums of German football. Finished 8th last year with Holstein Kiel. Look out for them this year. Karlsruhe, right? They're in the mix too. Paderborn, 55 points. St. Pauli, they're still in the league. And Dusseldorf are just some of the teams, we got to worry about this year. So it's going to be a tough division. Is it as tough as it was a few years ago? Maybe not, because some of the teams have struggled. Like last year, oh man, who was it? 2 years ago. Well, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, honestly. But it's not as hard this time around as the last time around. But I think it's still going to be difficult to ask no matter what. We don't know exactly. This is a new team. Players have to gel together. We don't know exactly what we got until maybe 10 games in to see what kind of team we actually have and whether the players that we bought are going to be worth anything. So it'll be interesting. Some new teams coming up on the horizon too. But I'm hoping we can, be in the mix and get an automatic position. That's the goal. You never want to be in that playoff position. Stuttgart was wavering last year, but they made it through against Hamburg. So yeah, for top position be ideal, right? But top 2 is what you asked for, and so let's see what we get here, and we got to kick things off this Friday against Hamburg. So I'll be interested. Lars Stindl. Oh, they got Lars Stindl. Hertha's got Lars Stindl, huh? Interesting. Karlsruhe almost beat Liverpool in a friendly. I was gonna laugh at Liverpool for that. There was like 2-2 at one point in that game. So anyway, thoughts on this game coming up Friday before we get out of here? You're on mute. Rookie.
Yeah, rookie move. It's interesting. It is his first podcast of the year. We'd be surprised if I made it all the way through without one of those.
Yeah, sure.
I think it's interesting. Both teams coming off of sort of emotional lows, like Hamburg coming close again to getting out of the second division and not being able to do it. They kind of got battered over the course of the relegation playoff, and then Schalke, of course, getting relegated again. So both of these teams, I think, have. I mean, it's obviously everyone's goal is to get promoted, but I think both of these teams have realistic goals and expectations of finishing very high in this table. And this, once again, it's like a tone setter at the start of the season, very much the way it was a couple of years ago. We were in the second division, so I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a fun match.
I wouldn't mind seeing this year, obviously, us get promoted, but also Hamburg and St. Pauli and have a little Hamburg derby in the first division. But this first game is going to be tough. I gotta take a look at their lineup to see who they still have from last year. I know a couple of guys moved on, but it's gonna be a tough team. They've been, perennial top 3 in the Fight the Liga for many years now. The bridesmaids, it seems like every year. So is it their year? They started off with a bang 2 years ago, so it's some team we have to be worried about. They're gonna be someone we're gonna have to challenge with till the end. So it's gonna be a tough game, and it's.
I'm not expecting us to start quick for sure. So yeah, it could be tough.
At their home too, right? I believe.
Yeah, I think it's an away game.
Yeah, so it's not gonna be ideal. Ideal if it was home, it'd be a little bit better. But I mean, the crowd's still awesome at Velton's Arena, even the preseason. That's awesome to see. So yeah, hope for a good game. As mentioned earlier in the podcast, we will be doing a live watch along this Friday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1:30 p.m. Chicagoland time. So definitely join us for that as we watch Schalke kick off Fight the Liga here in our 7th season here at Schalke America. So we're back in this, and we'll see how the season goes with the games and what we can get televised or not. We may have to just resort to the German audio on Schalke's website. So we'll see, Jack.
Yeah, hopefully we can figure something out.
Where can our for those who have been on hiatus with us, forget where we're at, where can our followers find you on social media?
As always, if you'd like to follow a largely inactive Twitter page, or X page, perhaps I should say. I don't know if the fuck's going on with this platform at any point anymore, but at JMMangan, JMMANGAN on Twitter.
And mid-season form, Jack. Mid-season form. As always, you can follow me at R_KHARMAN. More importantly, follow us at Schalke America all across social media. Join us in the Discord. The community is live and strong and growing, and it's sustaining fine without us there present daily. So definitely join it there. And for constant updates, as I go to Twitter or the X, whatever the hell it's called now. But Discord is the way to go. So for Jack, for myself, episode 193 in the books, season previews done. Let's see what happens at Freiburg. We'll catch you during the watch along. Luke Half.